Hey everybody, this is Anthony from VR Game Rankings and welcome to episode 6 of the daily vlog series. This is for October 9th, 2017. As you guys know, today is October 9th and tomorrow on October 10th is the release of Arctica 1. And Arctica 1 is the #1 most wanted Oculus Rift game on VRGameRankings.com. And I am tremendously excited about that game. I'm looking forward to it. I know the node-based movement system is something that a lot of people are very underwhelmed by. And I understand that. I completely understand that. But I think it's one of those things where Arctica 1 was probably started so long ago, back in a different climate for Oculus, from the standpoint of everything was kind of like front-facing. And when they funded that, when they gave 4A Games all that money to start work on that, Oculus was very focused on a front-facing 2-camera setup. And so that's kind of what we ended up with here. And I think going forward, future experiences will not be so designed around that 2-camera setup, and so it'll open things up for us a little bit. But I'm still excited about Arctica 1. Now, obviously, that comes out tomorrow, and I don't know if I'll be able to talk about that on the daily vlog tomorrow, because I usually do the daily vlog relatively earlier in the day. Like I do this, like right now it's about 9:44 a.m. Pacific time. And sometimes when these new games come out, they don't actually hit the store until like 11 a.m. Pacific or 10 a.m. Pacific or something like that. So probably won't get a chance to try Arctica 1 before tomorrow's vlog, unfortunately. So I'll be probably talking about that on Wednesday's episode. But still, I am excited. This is absolutely one of the biggest VR releases of this fourth quarter. And here we are. It's October 9th. Tomorrow is October 10th. And I think it's exciting that VR's fourth quarter is already like starting to heat up in a major way. We already know mid-October is bananas. It's absolutely bananas, all these games that are coming in mid-October. And Arctica 1 kind of kicks that off tomorrow. So definitely excited about that. I'm a little bit disappointed in that $29.99 price point, just because I know that means this is going to be a shorter experience. But, you know, it's okay. I mean, I'm still looking forward to it. And the immersion that those guys bring to the table on flat two-dimensional screens and in regular normal flat gaming is awesome. So I just want to see what they've got for VR gamers. So I am excited about Arctica 1 tomorrow, and we'll see what happens there. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention to you guys is I've started this new thing for the website VR Game Rankings. I'm calling it Demo Alert. And so what Demo Alert is if I find a cool demo, or if one of the other VR Game Ranking editors finds a cool demo, we're going to post one of these articles, a Demo Alert article, telling people, hey, there's a cool VR demo, check this out. And the reason I bring this up is because in the early days of VR, like I remember back when the Vive launched, and in those early days, there were so many demos. We were so blessed. It seemed like almost every single game that came out had a demo. And then, for whatever reason, demos just kind of disappeared, and we don't seem to get very many demos as much. So I stopped looking for demos. A couple of months ago, I just stopped even looking for them because it seemed like they never came. And then if somebody happened to mention, oh, hey, there's a demo for this or a demo for that, then I'd be like, oh, okay, let me go check out that demo. So we're doing this new article called Demo Alert. And the very first demo alert that we had was for Organ Quarter. Now, I think I've already talked about Organ Quarter on one of these vlogs. I think maybe I talked about it on Friday's vlog, so I don't really want to get into that. And I also, of course, talk about it on the newest VR Roundtable episode, which is available today. So you can definitely go check out the brand new VR Roundtable episode. And we talk about Organ Quarter in that episode for a little bit. Excuse me. It does have a Silent Hill kind of vibe, but the graphics are really, really low-end graphics, although the enemies are incredibly disturbing. But anyway, you can check out the demo alert article on vrgamerankings.com, and we're going to continue to do that. In fact, later today, I need to write another article about another demo alert, and I can go ahead and tell you guys about this one. This is Operation Warcade. So I don't know if you guys have heard about Operation Warcade. This game has been available for a while, and what it is back in the 90s, I think it was it the early 90s? Yeah, maybe early 90s, maybe even the very late 80s, but I think it was the early 90s. We had a game called Operation Wolf that was in the arcade, and you would go to the arcade, right, and there would be this big arcade cabinet, and it would have like a machine gun that like an actual machine gun, and so you'd put your quarters in the machine and you would grab onto the machine gun, and little guys would be running around like tanks and stuff, and you'd be like, you know, you'd be shooting all the little guys. It was called Operation Wolf. It was a really popular arcade game. And so Operation Warcade, what that is it's kind of a basically, like, it's kind of a reimagining of that concept, but now brought to VR. And so I kind of put it in the category of these like retro styled VR experiences, where they're kind of like going for that nostalgia factor a little bit. They're taking advantage of what VR can do, but they're giving you this kind of nostalgia flavor. And so the Operation Warcade demo, you can go ahead and download it. Now, it's only one single level. It's very brief. It doesn't give you that much of the game to check out, but it gives you enough to kind of get the flavor of the game. And so when I was in that demo, when you first get in there, you're in like an arcade, almost like new retro arcade neon, and you'll even see a couple people standing around looking at arcade machines and stuff. You'll see some, you know, they put a couple girls in there that are dressed provocatively a little bit, and but I mean, they're cartoon style characters, of course, but they have these people in there, and then they have these two Operation Warcade machines that look very much like Operation Wolf from back in the day. And then you start the game, and when it first starts, there's like this screen that is right in front of you that feels like really weird. And at first I was like, oh my God, is this the actual experience? Because this is going to give me like it's not, my eyes are too close to focus in on it. You know, this is not right. But it only lasts like that for a couple of seconds, and then it fades into the actual game. So at first I was like, oh man, what's going on here? Then you get into the actual game. Now, the actual game of Operation Warcade, it uses a number of various perspectives, but the main perspective that it goes with is, imagine if you were on a train, okay? You're on a slow-moving train, and you have a big opening on the sidecar of the train, and you're looking out of this big opening, and you see the world going by slowly. You see little people running around, you see cars, you see buildings and stuff like that. That's basically what your viewpoint is for the majority of the game. And you have a machine gun, and you're shooting these little soldiers, you're shooting tanks, you're shooting helicopters. There's little power-ups that you can shoot, which will give you double machine guns. And it's a pretty cool view. You know, it's kind of this like diorama that is laid out there in front of you. And then what happens is you get to certain parts of this experience, and it's like the train will pause and you switch and you go into a first-person mode where you're actually down on the ground where the diorama is taking place, and you have like a grenade that you can throw, and you have your machine gun. But now the soldiers are full size. They're like people-sized soldiers, and the tanks and the helicopters and stuff like that. And then there was another sequence in this demo where you were driving a truck, and you're driving like an army truck, and you can actually drive it, but you have your machine gun at the same time. And so you're like driving the truck, shooting these guys and shooting tanks and stuff as you're driving along. That little section right there, when you're driving, if you are really turning and twisting a lot, it gave me very mild nausea, very, very mild. Not really too bad, and it was mostly because I was turning and whipping back and forth because I was trying to shoot these guys and wasn't really paying attention on my steering. So I'm like shooting over here, accidentally moving this other arm that's controlling the steering wheel, and so I was kind of swerving in and out. So I felt minor nausea with that. So at the end of the day, though, is me playing this demo going to get me to buy this game? Well, the game is $20. It's $19.99, and I'm interested. I like this game. Like, this is kind of the type of stuff I like. Like, when I was first in there shooting, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I like this idea. See, I'm kind of with Steve from the standpoint that just because it's third person, I still believe that you can have some awesome experiences in VR where you're not necessarily holding the sword and holding the shield and you got your boots on the ground. Sometimes I think you can be back a little bit and you can watch this diorama play out. And if you got a character that's running around the screen that you're controlling, like Bloody Zombies, or like Operation Warcade, where you're kind of external and you're shooting all these guys, I still think you can have a tremendous amount of fun, and I still think it's a different way to play a game and to view a game. But apologies for that, got to clear my throat there. But ultimately, is it a $20 game? See, when you get on PC, if this was on PlayStation VR and it was $19.99, I kind of understand that, because developers on PSVR, there's a licensing fee. So everybody has to pay a fee to Sony. And that's for every single copy they sell. And so a lot of developers will have to add that fee on. And then, so if you're at $19.99 and it's a game like Operation Warcade, completely understandable. Now on PC gaming, when you get into that $19.99 category, there's a lot of good stuff for $19.99. There's a lot of great games for $19.99. You can get Vanishing Realms for $19.99. There's a lot of really good games that you can get for $19.99. So Zing, The Land Beyond is $19.99, which I think is a steal, an absolute steal, if you like exploration and light puzzles and you love atmosphere. But a game like Operation Warcade, it's like, so I played that demo, and then later on, it's not like, oh, I got to go play that demo again. I got to play that demo again. Now, again, it's only one level, so there's not a ton there. But it's kind of one of these things where, you know, when you play a game, right? You play some game, and you're at work, and you're working at work, but you're thinking about that game. You want to get back home and you want to play that game. Operation Warcade is not going to be one of those types of games. Nowhere near that. This is going to be more of a diversion type thing, a palate cleanser, basically, a change of pace type of game with that kind of retro experience. It's going to be a pure fun type of thing. It's not serious. You're not like, there's not a major story that's going on here that's going to capture you or anything like that. But for me, if this game was $14.99, it would be way more tempting. And if it was $9.99, I'd probably just go ahead and buy it. So my take on Operation Warcade, first of all, it's worth trying. The demo is definitely worth checking out. Might as well check it out. Unless you just absolutely hate third-person stuff, I'd say try it out. But for me, it's going to be one of these games where if there's a major Steam sale and this game is like $7.99 or something on sale, then I'll go ahead and grab it. But still an interesting game, and it was fun to check out the demo, and I'm glad that we're finally seeing a few more demos. So that's always encouraging as well. Let's see, what else did I want to get into here? Oh, Meta World. So Meta World VR, you guys remember Meta World VR? This was supposed to be this like, you know, welcome to the metaverse. I mean, that's what it was supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be where like thousands of people could come together. You could live in this shared world. You have a house. It's like persistent. It's going on all times. Things that you do in the world stay there. There's other people. You talk to them. You can go swimming. You can go fishing. You can sit around a campfire and tell stories. I mean, I don't know how engaging all of that is going to be. I don't know how much excitement you're going to get from all of that, but there is something about being in a virtual world. I do believe that there is a future here. I mean, that's kind of Ready Player One, right? Is we're going to go into these virtual worlds, and I think 20 years from now, we're going to have some incredible virtual worlds that you might want to spend most of your time in these virtual worlds, and it might get scary, like these dystopian futures where we're spending more time with the headset on than we're spending with the headset off. And we're nowhere near that, so it's not something we need to worry about right now. But Meta World VR was kind of supposed to be the very first one of these. And the developer, Hello VR, was working with the UK startup Improbable, which is valued at, I believe, well over $1 billion, maybe $1.5 billion at this point. And Improbable has something called Spatial OS, that's their big claim to fame. And Hello VR was the first developer I'm aware of that was using Spatial OS to create this game called Meta World. And it was supposed to go into early access on September 29th. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I was in the PSVR subreddit, and I noticed some people were complaining about Meta World's been delayed to March 2018, and Hello VR is nothing but a bunch of scammers. This was a complete scam. And I was reading this one thread about it, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh man, this really went bad. This really went wrong. I don't know if like a bunch of people, what they did was they bought like a parcel of land and a cabin or whatever, and maybe they're not being allowed to refund that money because the game was supposed to be out on September 29th. It didn't happen. Now it's been delayed. I'm not sure why everybody's calling Hello VR a scam and all this type of stuff. I can tell you this, look, Improbable is worth 1.5 billion, something like that. Spatial OS is a big deal, and I think this will eventually happen. I think Meta World will happen. Now, I don't know if it's going to be the be-all, end-all that everybody would love it to be, but I still think it will happen. But it's so ambitious to have a situation like this, to have a persistent world with so many thousands of people in it. It's incredibly ambitious. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard for them to pull off. And so it's been delayed till March 2018. And it's unfortunate, especially for the PSVR gamers that put money down, and for everybody else that put money down, because they have a website. Like, they're taking money right now. You could buy parcels. You could buy a commercial version. Like, if you're a business, you could set up like a big hotel type of thing that would be there for people to come and for you to promote your game and stuff. Kind of like what Sony was doing back with, God, what was that Sony thing called? PlayStation Home. I think it was Home, right? PlayStation Home or something like that. Back on the PS3, Sony had like this virtual paradise that people could go to that was pretty much a shit show, but you would also have companies that would set up little shops in there and stuff, kind of like a Second Life type thing. I mean, that's really Meta World VR. The idea of it is really to try to make the ultimate Second Life kind of thing, is what I'm kind of thinking with that. But yeah, that got delayed, so that's a bit unfortunate. In more unfortunate news, this is something I just found out this morning. So Gran Turismo Sport, there is a demo that is available for Gran Turismo Sport. If you have a PlayStation 4 and you want to try Gran Turismo Sport, there is a demo and you can download it and you can check it out. The bad news, there is no VR in this demo. So everybody in the PSVR subreddit that had downloaded this huge demo that was hella gigs, and then they get it, they fire it up and get it going, no VR in this demo whatsoever. So that's really unfortunate that we don't get to try any VR for this Gran Turismo Sport, although the game is coming out in another week or so. I think it comes out next week, right? So it's not going to be a tremendous wait. Also, we mentioned this on the VR Roundtable podcast this week, but Sony is doing demos again. They're working with Best Buy and GameStop to do demos during the fourth quarter period for this holiday period leading up to Christmas. And they're going to have demos of Gran Turismo Sport. They're going to have demos of Final Fantasy Monster of the Deep. They're going to have demos of Raw Data, Dino Frontier. There's a handful of games, but like Raw Data was one of them, and also Gran Turismo Sport. Now, I think some people have actually been to Best Buy already and have tried out some of these demos. So I believe you can go do it now. Like I mentioned on the VR Roundtable episode, I remember last year, this is before PlayStation VR had been available, Best Buy was doing these demos. I would try to go to some of these demos, and it was so hit or miss. I would go and like the guy didn't show up, or they don't know where the guy is, or the guy's on like a 2-hour lunch. They don't know when he's coming back. It was really kind of chaotic, and it wasn't ran very well. Like it was pretty bad, you know. But if you have a Best Buy that's close to you and it's just a quick drive over there, you might want to check it out and see if you can get a demo of raw data on PSVR or Gran Turismo Sport. So there is that, but unfortunately I was looking forward to that demo. I was really hoping that that demo would happen. I wanted to download it myself and try it out, but no demo for Gran Turismo Sport. Okay, one other thing I want to mention real quick. I believe it was on Friday's episode of the vlog where I talked about games coming out of early access and how this is supposed to be this big deal, you know, blah blah blah, came out of early access, let's have a huge party, you know, it's like a night and day difference, man, the game is so much better, right? Okay, so raw data, I haven't played raw data in months, probably, yeah, I think it's been a couple of months maybe since I've fired up raw data, but I you know, it came out of early access, right? Now it's officially here, raw data. So I went ahead and tried it last night. Now, I didn't notice much of any difference, really. I'm still playing through the campaign of the game, and so I went into that, and I was playing it, and I really didn't notice any major differences. Now, maybe what I was playing doesn't really show off the differences, so that's part of it. The other thing I have to say, too, though, is I'm playing this on my Oculus Rift. See this little lighthouse here? I still need to get myself another one of these lighthouses. This was a while back, but I was going to buy a brand new lighthouse for like, I think it was like 175 bucks. And then at the last minute, I canceled my order, and I was just going to try to buy a used Vive package on like eBay or Craigslist or something, and pay a little bit more than that and actually get all the other Vive stuff as well. So I'll have some backup Vive wands, I'll have another backup one of these, I'll have backup cables, backup link boxes. I thought maybe it would just be a better idea, right, to buy like a used Vive package. I still don't have a working Vive. I've got one lighthouse that is operational. You can't see it, but it's back over there in that corner, but it's in the dark. I don't think you can really see it. So I'm still waiting. I'm still trying to get another lighthouse, but I got sidetracked with a bunch of other stuff, and I just stopped paying attention to getting another lighthouse. So I'm playing everything on my Oculus Rift, and I have to just admit to the fact that I don't like raw data on the Oculus Rift. It just, it bothered me. Now it does have a 360 mode. Like I had to go into the options. At first I was playing it and it kept telling me to turn around and face the front sensors. And I'm like, dude, I've got 4 freaking Oculus Rift sensors. Why do I have to face the front? Okay, then I went into the options and I found the options to turn on like experimental room scale mode for Oculus. I turned that on, so it stopped giving me that super irritating message. But still, I don't know, it doesn't feel as good to me as it does on the Vive. It just doesn't feel quite right. And admittedly, 99% of everything I've ever played on raw data has been on the Vive, and it hasn't been on the Rift. So now I've came over to the Rift, and it feels different. Now sometimes though, with a lot of these games, I don't notice any difference whatsoever, and it seems like the same freaking game, but maybe just a little bit better controllers. Sometimes the tracking is a little sketch a little bit, but now that I've got 4 sensors, that usually isn't the problem. So I don't know what it is, but you know what's funny is when I did that Oculus top 20 video, the top 20 Oculus games, and I was talking about raw data at number 17, and I was saying, I can't believe these Oculus gamers have raw data at number 17. What are they thinking? Raw data is one of the best VR games that there is. But now after playing it on the Oculus and seeing that it just doesn't feel quite good to me on the Oculus, now I kind of understand why raw data is down there at 17, because I just don't think it feels quite as good. Now, maybe I just need to screw around with it a little bit more and get back into it and try it, but I wasn't really, it didn't really impress me too much. So I did try this little PvP mode really fast where I was playing against some other players, because I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, the raw data PvP is so good. Didn't do much for me. It just didn't do much for me. Like, I'd rather play like Battle Dome or something if I want that type of an experience. And the raw data PvP didn't do too much for me. So I don't know. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater with this whole raw data thing. I'll probably try it some more on the Oculus and see if I adapt to it, and if it's like, okay, it's okay now, I feel good, you know, everything's fine. Another game that I want to try, and maybe I'll try this later today so I can talk about it on tomorrow's episode, is Dead Effect 2 VR. Dead Effect 2 VR has come out of early access. That's going to be interesting for me as well, because I think I've only played that game natively with the Vive. And so I'm living right now basically with an Oculus Rift and with a PlayStation VR, because I got to get another one of these damn lighthouses. And I was going to get a lighthouse a long time ago, but it just got delayed. I got busy with other stuff, and I just don't have time to look at that. I'm kind of just almost waiting to see also if maybe these new lighthouses come out. I don't know. There's just a lot of unanswered questions that are kind of floating around there. So I'm kind of like hesitant on that a little bit too. And then I almost was thinking, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but I was almost thinking, you know, instead of spending that money getting like a used Vive, maybe I should buy one of these mixed reality headsets and try that out with Steam. But nah, it's probably not going to happen. So I don't think I'm going to go down that road, but it was kind of in the back of my head a little bit. But yeah, I probably need to get my hands on another lighthouse pretty soon. I should probably check eBay just for an individual lighthouse, because every once in a while you'll see those on there for around like 80, 90 bucks, which that's not a bad deal at all. I mean, it's still kind of expensive really, but it's a hell of a lot better than spending $175 on a brand new lighthouse to get it shipped to you. So that's a possibility as well. But yeah, I was trying to live without my Vive for a little bit and see if I can get away with it. And man, raw data did not feel too good on the Rift. The other game I've always mentioned that doesn't feel very good on the Rift is To the Top. Every time I've tried to play To the Top on the Rift, I just don't like it at all. And that's one of my favorite games of 2017. I love To the Top. To the Top just has incredible fun factor. There's just so much of a fun factor in that game, and I just love, you know, jumping and grabbing onto these blue things and jumping. And I don't know what it is about the Rift version, but I think it's the triggers of the Rift. Like if you're playing a shooting game and you're shooting something, the triggers are great. They work absolutely great compared to the Vive. There's no difference. In fact, maybe it's an improvement. But something about To the Top and the jumping, I don't like the triggers on the Oculus Rift touch controllers when it comes to that game. But maybe I'll try to give that game another try. One other game I wanted to try too, and maybe I'll be able to try that later today as well, is Blasters of the Universe. Steve was actually talking about this on our newest VR Roundtable episode, because I guess he's late to the party to that game, and it came out of early access. I think maybe the developer sent Steve a couple of keys or something, and he ended up trying it because of that. But I remember playing that game like 8 months ago. I loved the hell out of it, but I've never played it with the Oculus Rift. So it's always interesting to try these Vive games where I've only had experience with them only in the Vive, and then now I'm trying to play them on the Rift and see, does it work? Does it work out? Is it, you know, is it up to par? So, you know, there's that. Okay, so we're almost out of time here. I just wanted to mention, in terms of VR game rankings, some updates that have happened. I've updated the last 90 days charts. Okay, so I have the last 90 days, 25 best HTC Vive games. I've updated that one. I've updated the Oculus Rift best 20 games of the last 90 days. And I updated the PlayStation VR 15 best games of the last 90 days. So all these lists have been updated very recently. And the one thing I'll say about that is I think those lists are good to check out periodically, because how many times have you been on the Vive subreddit and some dude posts a thread where he's saying, I've been gone for 3 months. What should I play now? You know, what's happened in the last 3 months? Well, that's exactly what these lists are designed for. These lists are designed to show you the recent bangers, and we try to rank them in, well, if people send submissions on what they feel are the best games of the last 90 days, we use their information, but otherwise the VR game ranking editors will cobble together our own ranking of what how these games rank out. And basically, this is like the greatest hits of the last 90 days. So you can go to the top 100 rankings, but some of those games are from months ago, years ago, and maybe you're more interested in more recent stuff, you know, like what has come out recently, like what are the recent bangers? Well, you can go to these lists and you can get this kind of information. For example, like on the HTC Vive list, number 1 is Gorn. Now that came out on July 10th, so it barely made the 90-day cutoff when I did this update. Now it's like more than 90 days old, I think now. But when I did this update, it was October 7th. That wasn't quite 90 days old. Gunheart is number 2. It came out on July 31st. Res Infinite, number 3, came out on August 9th. Zing, The Land Beyond, one of my personal favorites, incredible, came out on September 21st. Dimension Hunters at number 5. Project Cars 2 at number 6. Headmaster at number 7. Duck Season at number 8. Archangel at number 9. 2MD VR Football at number 10. Just in Time Incorporated at number 11. Bloody Zombies at number 12. So these are all games that have come out in the last 90 days. So it kind of gives you a feel for some recent bangers. So you might want to check out those charts. I really think like the average VR game rankings user should bookmark the website and check it like once a week or so, and check these last 90 days, check the reviews, check the most recent reviews, check the top 100s when they've been updated. That's kind of how you want to use this site. But I think the last 90 days stuff does provide some good information. Anyway, we're way past the 30-minute mark. I need to go ahead and stop this. But this has been episode 6 of the daily vlog for October 9th, 2017. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.